All right, Carlos King and the people down to the own. I need to know, is this the end for Lil Buddy? Okay. And by Lil Buddy, you might be asking, if you didn't see this episode, who might I be talking to? Actually, by Lil Buddy, even if you saw this episode, you might be clueless as to who I'm talking about. Okay. We're going to talk about the real Lil Buddy, but the title of this thumbnail, Lil Buddy is referring to Tiffany Whitlow. Okay. So, spoiler alert. That's ginger ale for those of you guys who are curious. Now, the spoiler is, now I'm just going to give y'all the warning before you even get into this video, okay? The spoiler is that in the next episode of Love and Marriage Huntsville, not the episode that we're going to talk about today, but the next episode, it's looking like Lewis and Tiffany are talking about, and they are breaking the fourth wall. It looks as though they're talking about whether or not doing the show is good for them in terms of their time. Because, she runs the business, he runs the business, they got the new baby, and they already got kids, right? So, the question on the table is this why we've been seeing so much Chris and Nell? Because Tiffany and Lewis about to be out that door, okay? Also, is that why Tiffany brought the baby? Because she was like, you know what? I ain't even gonna be here that much longer, so I ain't gonna have to deal with Kiki for much longer either. Okay, you know what I'm saying? I don't feel like dealing with her mouth today. We're gonna talk about that when we get to it. But so for me, my question as I left the episode ends up being the most important question of the episode in that preview. What is going on with Tiffany and Lewis? And will they remain on the show? I've never seen cast members on a show talk about whether or not it's actually feasible or good for them to do the show while they're on the show. Love and Marriage Huntsville is doing some things that no other reality TV show in my time has done. Okay. At least for the time period that I have been recapping. For those of you guys who don't know, I have been recapping these shows since 2016 when I first started at AfterBuzz TV with Real Housewives of Dallas and Chasing Destiny. I don't know if you guys recall that show with Kelly Rowland on BET. That was only given one season, and it birthed the group June's Diary. Was it June's Diary? I think that's it. I think it was June's Diary or something like that. Anyway, was that it? Or am I thinking about the game? I can't even remember now. Let me look it up. I got, because what's now, it's on my mind. It was June's Diary. Okay, anyway. So, having said that, I'm kind of like, what is going on, right? Like, I've never seen this before. So that's why I was like, okay, like let me ask the question right off the rip. Like, I want to know what's going on. And even it intrigued me so much that I had to even make it the topic of the thumbnail. So now that we've discussed that, let's get into the actual episode itself. All right. So I'm gonna give you guys a fair warning for today. I did have a shot before I did this. You know what? I said it's the weekend. You know what I mean? And I said, you know what? We survived another week. Last week was a week for me. So I'm like, you know what? It's 5 o'clock somewhere. Okay. And at this point, when you're watching this, it's Sunday fun day, right? So anyway, in case I go off the rails, I wanted you guys to know that right off the rip. Okay. Now, will this happen often? Probably not. But anyway, let's get back to the episode. All right. So on a scale of 1 to 10, what am I giving this episode? I'm probably gonna give it an 8. Okay. To me, it felt like filler, right? And every episode can't be a 10. We didn't had so many 10s this season that it was bound to happen that we were not gonna have a 10. Now, for me, it's mostly because I kind of felt in this episode, as not so much last episode, but in this episode, I definitely felt like we were missing a huge element from the show, that being the Scots 1.0 and 2.0. So clearly they are still on this vacation down to wherever they decided to go. I don't know if they ran away or what, but I felt like I felt it. You know what I'm saying? There was some level of mischievousness that was missing. And in its place were the Fletchers in all of their chaotic glory. Okay. Now, for I read the comments last week. A lot of you guys, even though I would have preferred a gentler rollout to meet their family, a lot of you guys loved just kind of being dropped into the mix of it all. So clearly it worked for a lot of you. It just didn't work for me. However, .org, I feel like now we're in the thick of it. So let's discuss it, right? I felt like too, I was promised a confrontation with Kiki and Tiffany, and it was a to be continued. So I was kind of like, all this buildup, and we don't really get to the meat and potatoes of what I really wanted to see. However, I do talk about a lot on this channel, and I know for some of y'all, I'm annoying y'all with the preamble, but I got to get my feelings out, and that's the reason why I started this channel. So let me get them out, okay? I felt like I'm sometimes somebody who will be like, I don't care if you sacrifice scandal for story, because I feel like story is more important, right? And I feel like we got more story here than we did any type of scandal, right? So let's get into it. All right, so we're back in the thick of the Fletcher's drama with about the dog and Chris Jr. Then Nelson. And the other thing I feel like I need is a family tree diagram to talk about these things and these people, because I don't know them yet. So anyway, Nelson Lance had to fire Chris Jr. from the home improvement company, but Nell has also been given money to Lance's company as well. Nell doesn't understand why she is the bad guy in this whole situation. Basically, Nell feels like she be giving the kids all this money every time they be in trouble and whatnot. And I don't know, like, is the kids being in like, I don't know. I feel like at some point in time, like, all kids may need some help, right? And it depends on how far along they are in their adulthood. But it does sound like there has been a lot of giving going on in this family. And maybe it's because they got it like that. You know what I'm saying? They got the coin to be shelling it out for these, the kids and their business endeavors and things, and people going to jail and stuff like that. So I don't really know. What I do know is that Lexi, who appears to be Chris's biological daughter, seems to have the most issues with the family. Not only Nell, but also the rest of the siblings, because she feels like, because she grew up in a different household, according to her, from what I gathered, that she was treated differently. Now, the rest of the kids also feel like it's her fault because she has a woe is me attitude. And I would imagine that if she grew up in a different household and she may have grown up differently from them, that it probably would seem like a different dynamic, and she may not feel as included simply by nature of proximity. Okay. Now, to give you guys more information about Lexi, okay. Now, Lexi appears to be married to a white man. Okay. Now, I say this to say that in the mix of all this arguing and screaming and yelling, the only person who ain't said not nay word is Lexi's husband. I don't even know what was his name, Ellen or something like that. Nelson, Ellen, I don't know what it was. But I mean, I just felt bad for him. I was like, justice for man, because at the end of the day, I just felt like he was thrust in the middle of all that. And you know what? I think it's probably for his benefit that he did not say nothing, because they probably would have eaten him alive had he even spoken. So I think he knew exactly what to do to let them handle it. Lexi feels like she didn't get a car. Everybody else got a car. They tell her, we gave you some money. We gave you $22,000 or something like that. Lexi gets mad. She storms out. She threatened to burn the house down. She runs to the car. The man is driving off. Chris runs outside to go try to stop her. And then he tell her, well, you won't in. She tell him, you weren't even in my life till I was 28. He get mad and tell her, go on, girl. Get on out of here. Get out. Go. So I was like, okay. I mean, he told her to go to F home. And again, for me, this would have hit harder had we been seeing a lot of this build up from the beginning. You know what I mean? Because right now I'm plunged into something, into a pool of unfamiliar water with unfamiliar fish. Okay. So anyway, Stormy and Courtney are at the chateau and they're drinking wine. Okay. I like that. Like I want to live at the farm too. Like I really do. I just want to come live at the farm. Their life seems so blessed and joyful to me and peaceful. I'm like, it's a wonder y'all even on reality TV. But anyway, she reveals that she wants to be the peacemaker amongst Tiffany and Kiki. Spoiler alert, it's not going to happen in this episode. Stormy thinks they may need to take some shots to break the ice, like I did earlier. But anyway, then they start talking about the business, and I'm still trying to figure out who forged Stormy's signature. I don't know if they bleeped the name out or not, but we still don't know. Also, Courtney has hired Junior back. Now, Junior, if you guys may recall, I felt like conversely, Stormy's story was told a little better to my liking because we got to know these players individually. And so now when we're recalling the fact that Stormy's cousin is now rehired by Courtney, I'm like, oh, okay, I done seen him a multitude of times and I know what the story is. So yes, she is shocked, but ultimately she's going to trust his decision, even if she is kind of questioning, like, because they're in a different space right now. So she feel like if we hire him back, are we going to go back to that space of uncertainty with our business and having the wrong people working? And just because you family don't mean that I need to hire you. Period. Anyway, it looks like Martel is moving, but we learned that it took him a while to find a home to lease. Because he needs 5 bedrooms because he's got like 5 kids. And a good friend / realtor threw a house in his lap. And I'm like, that good friend won't Chris? But Chris is probably like, I need you to get out the home that you in before I can get you into another one. And he might have been, it could have been a little shady type of situation too, where he's like, I'm not going to give you the business. And it's a lease. So I don't really even know if Chris manages. Well, I guess he does kind of manage leases because he did the other one. So I don't know. That's interesting. We also learned that he's doing a late night move because he's with his brother and his uncle. And in my mind, I'm just going to be very honest with y'all. I feel like you are on a reality TV show. You've been on this show 6 seasons. Why are you not hiring the movers? Okay. It was given real 2 college guys. Okay. That's what it was feeling like to me. And I know that I could be sounding bougie because I know that he has gone through a lot with his finances as a result of the divorce. But at the end of the day, I feel like with you being on reality TV, I mean, I would expect that you at the very least would have movers. You know what I'm saying? A check from one of your episodes could have covered that, my friend. In my opinion, I'm like, why are you doing this? It makes no sense. And now you got the no. I understand that because listen, if I don't have to move nothing, I'm not moving nothing. Anyway, so he's also having the facial surgery to get rid of the eye bags. Now, I kept thinking to myself, now I don't know what surgery this is, and I don't know how much it's going to cost, but I'm interested, Martel. So tell us more about this surgery. You know what I'm saying? A brother would like to know. You know what I mean? Anyway, Martell was determined not to move until he needed a new place. And I kind of feel like until he got a new place. And he doesn't seem to really care too much that the owners or Chris needed him to move out. He wasn't gonna move until he found a new place. I think that's a little like that's to me, that's immature. I think at a man of his age and his place in life as a father, you have a we are adults at this point. So it would be crazy for me. I can't believe not a bigger deal isn't being made about this because in any other situation that could have that could have resulted in the end of a friendship right there. To be honest with you. So then he FaceTimes Chris and let him know that he is finally moving, and Chris is like, "Yay!" But bro, I need to talk to you because I heard you and Nell had a Ponderosa, and I don't appreciate you talking to my wife that way. Now, at the time when he says it, Martell kind of laughs it off a little bit, but I feel like it's going to get heated based on the preview for next week's episode, as it should. Because the last thing you, as my friend, are going to do is come to my house and then yell at my spouse. It's not going to happen, especially if you're my friend, because we won't be friends any longer at all. Okay. Meanwhile, Melody Rogers is on the scene, and I noticed they specifically put Rogers at the end of her name when she flashed on the screen. Had they been doing that before? I had not noticed, and I wondered if they made it a point to do it in this episode because the name change happened in last episode, or maybe I'm just noticing it because the name change happened in last episode. This scene, to me, I got to be very honest with you, it felt like I was I was almost like, are we pitching a dating show for Mel? Like, is that where we're going with this? I mean, I'm fine with it if we are. You know what I mean? Because those shows do very well. I mean, look at Queen's Court. I mean, Evelyn and Tamar both ended up getting engaged. Okay, never mind. But what I will say is that it may not be a bad idea. Okay. And it's on own. It could be on own. It could be like a little ready to love type situation. I really don't know. That's just the impression that I got from this conversation because she is talking to her best friend, Britney, about not being at her name change ceremony. And then they were talking about really what type of man, Melody should date. And, she's going through the criteria and whatnot. I mean, it was a cute scene or whatever, but I just kind of felt like, I'm always on the lookout for different things, and I was like, "Now, is this a kickoff to a dating show?" But I was wrong also too about that episode from last season with the Scots at Miss Wanda's tasting event. I could have swore that was going to be like a spinoff for the Scots, but I could be wrong. I don't know. Let me know what y'all think in the comment section down below. I could be reaching, and that's fine. Chris drops some packages off for Nell, and they talk about what happened at the family dinner. The bottom line consensus here is that Nell is very reactionary when it comes to the kids, and the kids feel like, Chris's approach to them and their issues are a lot better or are a lot calmer than hers. And she feels like, well, I'm the one who is giving them all the money, who's doing all the things. So if I want to react, I can react. And granted, I mean, I guess that's true. I mean, if you screaming and yelling, but you're gonna still hand them the check, I mean, fine. I'm sure they will endure your screaming and yelling so that they can get the money, right? And then comes this idea about paying them back. But I do have to ask us a little bit of a question because how long of a period of time are you still paying for these things for these kids? And I wasn't paying like I was paying attention because I was writing, but at the same time, I wasn't sure if the ages popped up on the screen. I would be real interested in knowing the ages for a lot of these kids to really get a better idea. Because if they're in like 20 to 25, like 20 to 30, but if you get in your 30s and it's like, okay, if you're still like having to do that a lot, I would say then that could be a problem, right? We need to determine what we need to do to help you out of this situation if you keep finding yourself in it. Honestly, at the end of the day, they decide to do some family counseling. I don't have anything else for that. Kiki does stop by Stormy's estate for the Ponderosa. Kiki is hot and sweating and patting the sweats. We learned that she's in the guest house, and I was like, "Why are they filming in the guest house?" I guess she was like, "I don't want these folk in my house. I don't know what could go wrong." So, they filming in the guest house, but something wrong with the AC or whatnot. I don't know why y'all might should have done this scene outside or at a restaurant. Anyway, Kiki is sweating because of the methadone, okay? And she lets us know that it causes her to perspire in this outpatient program that she's in. And Stormy wants to know how Kiki and Leticia are doing. And Kiki, we learn, has blocked Leticia. It's fine because Leticia hasn't shown up in the past episode or two, so it's fine. Anyway, Kiki feels like this is because, it's because of her that Leticia is where she is right now, okay? She brought Leticia along, okay? Leticia probably wouldn't have allegedly even went to college if it wasn't for Kiki. And I was like, well, Kiki, now you giving yourself a lot of credit here, baby. It's difficult for me to really say whether or not that's true because that is Kiki's perspective, right? So I can't really argue with that, and I wasn't there to be quite truthful with you to know what it was. What I can say is that while it may have been Kiki that influenced her to do things, allegedly, I also would have to say you have to give Leticia credit for following through, right? For taking the actions and making the things happen after that, right? So I don't know. Like, I just feel like maybe Kiki and Leticia probably should just never talk again. I think that would solve all of their problems, to be honest with you. Stormy takes that a little more personal because she's looking at her own relationship with her mom and her aunt, and she's kind of wondering, like, well, dang, if Kiki and Leticia can't get it together, is there any hope for her mom and her mom's sister, or her aunt, I should say? Anyway, Stormy then reveals that she's invited Tiffany over so they can resolve their issue. And I like what Stormy says. And she's like, it's different when somebody is shading you to your face because then I can respond to you. But when you shade me behind my back or in an interview, it's difficult to respond to. For instance, Stormy felt like Tiffany went really low in her interview with Carlos King. And it's so meta how we're having this conversation on this show. Because at the end of the day, when you think about it, I mean, this is like a break in the fourth wall to the 10th degree, because you have Tiffany and Carlos doing an interview and it's actually featured on the show and it's having an impact on what's happening in real time on the show. It's so wild. But I guess honestly, it's no wilder than when on Housewives, they reference stuff that happened on either Watch What Happens Live or in interviews with Andy or even at BravoCon. So to be honest with you, like, this is par for the course for where we are in the state of reality TV. And I don't mind it, okay? I don't mind it. So anyway, and I guess it's really no different from them talking about like Dr. Heavenly's YouTube or Married to Medicine or Candy's YouTube on Real Housewives of Atlanta. So anyway, now that I think more about it. There are moments that we flash back to those interviews, and Tiffany is saying that Kiki might have been a lesbian, okay, at some point in life because she's so obsessed with her, allegedly. Allegedly, Kiki came to a game and jumped the fence because she didn't want to pay. Why do the parents have to pay? Anyway, Kiki feels like Tiffany comes for her, then acts offended. I think earlier in the episode, Stormy referred to Tiffany as a Karen. So Tiffany comes and knocking at the door, but guess what? Surprise! Like I said in last week's episode, she has brought the baby. What a shield, okay? What a great shield. I guess the baby's going to protect her from in case Kiki decides to throw anything at her, like splash her down with some water or hose her down like she did Leticia. Anyway, let me know what you guys thought about this episode of Love and Marriage Huntsville. I believe this is episode 25 of season 6. I want to read your comments down below, and I want to know what you thought about all of this. Do you think that this is Tiffany's last season? Is this our last time seeing little buddy Tiffany? Oh, and where we got the little buddy from, I failed to mention it earlier. That is Melody's new nickname for Martel because I'm assuming she does not want to say his name. So he has been henceforth referred to as Lil Buddy, likely in reference to his height because Melody is now looking for a man of about 6'3", 6'2", or 6'3", okay? I'm not necessarily sure how tall Martel is. On TV, he looks relatively tall, but I guess maybe in reality, he's really not. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. And of course, I will catch you in the next video.